Don't stand in front of that if you want to sit down.
I'll just let Justin come back.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Like I said, I'm Dan Ferons. I'm the general manager, president of the board.
Nice haircut.
President of the board, Sandra Jacobs is here also today. The dispatch stole a lot of the update I was going to give you. It's a pretty good article though. We're really excited about Trampus Reservoir and the opportunity of working with the city and the city facilities and combining together in the San Juan watershed. It's got a lot of opportunity for everybody, we think, to really enhance the reliability of the water system throughout the region, from Dana Point all the way up to Rancho Santa Margarita. And working together as one unit within the watershed is going to be very good collaboration and an opportunity to make sure that we do have a reliable water system. We're importing water from hundreds of miles away. There's a study that was just done by Metropolitan that said if the earthquake comes, the importation systems could be out from 6 to 24 months. And so having a local supply, being reliable, and being able to keep the San Juan Basin fully charged all the time, able to pump water out of it, serve indoor water use, meet fire flows, is really critical for the region. And that's one of our big pushes. So working together with the city, we were very happy to be selected by the city and enter into negotiations with them to finalize annexing in and transferring over. You know, we have a long history since 1972 of working with the city. Cities participated in the South County Pipeline with us and Upper Chiquita Reservoir. We worked together on the San Juan Basin Authority. We worked together on the South Orange County Wastewater Authority. We've been reading meters in the city for the last several years. We've been helping respond with the city on sewer issues. We've been partners in this watershed project. So annexation is really running on two different tracks right now, and both end up at the same spot. One is through the Local Area Formation Commission, also known as LAFCO. LAFCO has to act. It's a county-wide agency. If you don't know what it is, it's made up of 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 2 city representatives, 2 special district representatives, and 1 at-large from the public. So a 7-person board, and they have alternates. They have to act on all boundary issues, formations of new cities, transfer of duties, those kind of things. They do what are called municipal services reviews. That's what the city went through last year, where they took a municipal services review and looked at the special districts around them and how we could operate together. There's still a process we have to go through with them. In parallel to that, we've been sitting with the city staff and the city council, meeting with some of our some of our board members, working together to come up with a memorandum of understanding. And we have a goal of putting that together by end of May, early part of June, for both boards to take a look at and talk about. It'll set all the deal points out as to how we're going about it. So it really sets up a contract. In parallel to that, the city has asked us to start cleaning the sewers in July. The private contract they have isn't working out so well, so we are working on a separate agreement with them to start cleaning sewers early in this process. And then we'll continue to read the meters as we work on the final agreement. The milestones are where we're working right now. It's like anything, like when you buy a new house, you have to go through and all the contracts you have to look at, all the documents you have to look at. You got to start peeling the onions back and start finding all the issues that are out there. So the first one we've been working on is the city debt under the water utility and how we transfer that over. So meeting with the 3 different banks that have the debt and working out the terms to transfer that over. The city's employees are under what's called OSERS, which is the Orange County Employees Retirement System. Our employees are under FERS, which is the state system, Public Employees Retirement System. So we have to work with both those entities to understand the unfunded liability portion, how much those dollars are, and then also how to transfer the employees over and what assets get transferred over. So working with the city and the employees and their association and our employees association on how we work through that transfer. Making the most of the infrastructure that the city has. We've hired an engineering firm called NV5. They did a preliminary analysis for us over last year. We've asked them to come in and do more of a detailed master plan effort to really look at where the investment needs to be, what do the first few years look like. We budgeted about $5.3 million a year for investment in the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure and upgrades, both in the sewer system and in the water system, working on that. And we're gonna try to prioritize those capital improvements. Finally, once you start figuring out all those issues, we're working on the rate structure and how that works. We have 2 different rate structures. Santa Margarita has a similar rate structure. It's a tiered structure, not exactly the same as the city's different rates. And we'll work towards coming up with a new rate structure. Initially, it looks like wastewater rates, probably about $10 a month low because of the significant improvements that need to happen in the sewer system. Water rates are probably, on average, $15 a month higher than what we think we're gonna need. So between the 2, we think there could be a reduction once we meld all these together on the monthly. And then, important to the city council and important to our board is how long does it take to work so that there is just one rate structure and not 2 different rate structures. And we're working through that financial analysis. The capital improvement program is driving that. The unfunded liability for pensions and the city requirements are driving that. So we're working together to pull all those together right now. So we've been meeting about every 2 weeks with the city staff, and then we all have our work assignments that we go out and update, try to dig through some of the details on, figure those out, bring it back, work together. Like I said, we want to have the MOU. Both the city and the district are committed to being transparent about this. We're coming here, we're also going to the Rotary Club, I think, and to the chambers, and making sure everybody understands at least what the process is and some of the detail. And as we get more detail and can lay out more, we'll be having that going to both councils and boards and having more information available. LAFCO process, you have to put in an application for the annexation, and that'd be the responsibility of Santa Margarita. So we would apply to LAFCO to annex the city into our boundaries. You have to do legal descriptions, set up all the improvement district, add you into the voting that we have. Right now, we vote at large. The board has committed to going through a process so we have a districts. So you vote for somebody from San Juan. The numbers work out really well. That if we have a 5-member board, we could have the city's about 20% of the rest of our district. So it would be a voting district that would encompass the city and have a representative on the board. So timing of that right now. LAFCO process takes 4 to 6 months to process. Once they approve it, there's a 30-day reconsideration period. So that would allow somebody to come with new information. You can't just say, hey, I want you to think about it again. You have to bring new information. So somebody who said, hey, you didn't consider this, and you should have, there's a 30-day period for that. Once that 30-day period is over, there's a 20 to 75 days, so I'm anticipating that LAFCO would say 45 or 60 days, where they publish a notice in the San Juan Dispatch and Orange County Register, and residents have an opportunity to write into LAFCO to say, we don't agree with this. So if 50% of the residents write in, say they don't agree, the issue's dead, it stops at that point. If 25 to 50% write in, then it has to go to a public vote. If less than 25% write in, then it's deemed approved. So timing looks like the soonest we'd have that would be March of 2020. So right now, that's our working schedule, March 2020. It is a bit aggressive with LAFCO. They don't like to work that fast, but we've been giving them a lot of information early and often so that we can bring them along with us. We think we can pull that all together, which then would set up an election in November of 2020 to reconstitute the board and have the new district set up. So that's rough timeline, what's been going on. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Since I've got the microphone, I'm sorry I was gabbing. You mentioned absorbing employees. How far are you into that process and how's it going? That's my biggest concern out of all this, is that we don't have staff guys, and I know a few of them that work in water, that they don't lose their jobs.
No man left behind. So we're well into the process of discussing it. Obviously, you have a lot of work in the city. We need the field crews, those folks, and we're working with the city. The city wants to retain some people for the storm drain, for inspection, for some of the administration stuff. So we're going through who we need and which ones go where, and everybody's going to have a landing spot of some time.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, look,
Okay.
Mark?
You talked briefly about investment in infrastructure repair and upgrade. How does that compare with what the city has been budgeting for that same?
We're anticipating budgeting more than the city has been. The city had a study that was done by HDR, an engineering firm, that had about a $4 million a year investment. Our first look at it was about $5.3 million a year. And some of it we're rearranging. Some of the stuff we think is a higher priority than that original study did, making sure there's backup power at pump stations and those kind of things. High priority. There is some look at being able to reconfigure how systems are, where water flows, maybe some new pipelines interconnecting some areas. So it looks like it's a higher investment for the next 10 years or so.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Do you foresee any opposition at LAFCO?
I don't at this point. There hasn't been any indication. LAFCO has the same concerns. LAFCO has the same concerns that the city has. And when they did their MSR, they outlined, so they want to know about the rate structure, about the investment, what's the result of the unfunded liability. So, if we check off all their lists, I don't anticipate any issues on that. Yes, sir.
Frank Margaret?
I have two questions. One is if those 50-gallon barrels that have been issued by several different companies in the area, are you going to have those barrels available for all the residents of San Juan so that they can save the water when it does rain? If that's possible, because that would, it's a small amount, but it would be a big help, I
Frank,
think.
I have one you can have.
No, but everybody should have one.
Never been full.
So, yeah, we have a program. We have a fairly robust water efficiency program at the district, and we have 3 staff members who are full-time on that. We have a rebate program for the barrels. We look at the barrels kind of as, if marijuana was always considered the entry drug into a drug addiction, rain barrels are kind of the entry into water use efficiency. In that you get it, you get the barrel, and then you start thinking about your water use and how you pull that together.
You gotta be 21.
The problem with the barrels is the same problem we have with water in South Orange County, that it rains 6 times a year usually. This year's a little different. So when it rains, it fills up your water barrel, but you don't need to use it at that time. And so there's maintenance issues with them and those kind of things. So they're a good idea to have, and a lot of folks use them, but it can be a problem too, so you gotta balance it.
Yeah, my second question is, let's assume that this is gonna work out for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is.
100.
That if it's possible, is there any kind of an escape clause where San Juan says, I don't wanna be in this, and you say, I don't wanna be in this? What can happen?
So after LAFCO rules, it's interesting in that as a special district, there's no escape clause for us. We're in, it's in our area, we gotta serve it. But as a city, it doesn't actually remove any powers of the city. So the city in 10 years, 15 years says, hey, we want the water system back. It's still within the city powers, and they could take it back. They'd have to, reimburse for any investments, those kind of things, but it could go back to the city if
It's kind of like adopting a child and then returning them.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
While you're on the blue barrels, Dan, the city, I don't know if they do now, but they did at one time have a plan, if you take out grass and put in, natural drought resistance landscaping, that you got a rebate, like $2 a foot or something, to help pay for the desert. But, or do you guys have a program like that?
We're all members of Municipal Water District of Orange County, which is a member of Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, the wholesale importer. Met has a program that we all participate under that. They just re-upped it, and I think they increased it back to $2.
Right now you can get $3 through.
Right now you can get $3 a square foot. So if you're putting in drought tolerant, it helps quite a bit. If you're putting in artificial turf, it helps, maybe 30% of the cost of that.
Well, thank you. I got it 10 years ago. I put in a desert, basically, DG and cactus, and they paid me when I took out all the evergreen. Any other questions for Dan before we let him go? Nada?
Thanks again.
Well done, and please come back and keep us up to snuff.